I used to think boundaries were just about knowing what I wanted. Like, once I figured it out and said it out loud, that was the hard part done. But nobody tells you the real work starts after you say it. Because saying, oh, I'm not doing this no more, feels powerful in the moment. It makes you feel clear. It feels like growth, right? But then reality hits. And then the phone rings or the message comes through or you start missing the version of the person that you wanted to be, right? And then suddenly your boundary doesn't feel as solid as it did when you were calm. This one should get real. Because when you enforce those boundaries, it's not about logic. It's about emotion management. It's about sitting in discomfort and not fixing it just because it shows up. I've had moments where I said, oh, I ain't going to answer certain calls no more. And what did I do? The calls come in, I look at my screen and my whole body reacts before my mind do. Heart racing, thoughts start telling myself, oh, let me just hear them out and see what they got to say. And that's how people end right back up in the same cycle. And when I say people, I'm one of them. Not because they don't know better, but because their emotions talk them out of what their clarity already decided. Okay? And let's be honest, it's harder when you care about the person. When it's not just a random situation, but somebody you have history with, someone you still love, and damn sure somebody you still want to believe will eventually, will we say, oh, they're going to get it right. That's where boundaries get tested the most. Because now you're not just protecting your peace, you're grieving the connection at the same time. And those two things do not move at the same speed. So then you start negotiating with yourself. Like, oh, maybe I can respond this time. Maybe they mean it this time. Maybe I'm being too harsh. And every maybe pulls you farther away from what you've already decided. Right or wrong. And see, what's dangerous is how convincing those moments can make you feel. Because when you miss someone, your mind starts rewriting things in a softer way. You forget the stress. You forget the confusion. You remember the version that made you feel seen, even if it was only temporary. So you start questioning your own boundary like it was never solid to begin with. But honestly, y'all, here's what I had to accept. A boundary that changes every time you get emotional is not really a boundary. It's a preference you're still negotiating with yourself. And that's not said to shame nobody. It's just me being real, okay? Because the difference between peace and chaos is not what you know in a calm moment. It's what you continue to allow in an emotional one. And nobody really talks about how enforcing boundaries will make you feel lonely sometimes. Not because you're alone, but because you're no longer accessible the way you used to be. You're not over-explaining, you're not overgoing, and you're not over-accessible. You're just not participating in what drains you anymore. And that shift can feel so unfamiliar. Almost like something is wrong even when something is finally right. Because when you used to access, silence feels like loss. When you're used to explaining yourself, peace feels like distance. And when you're used to reacting, guess what the restraint feels like? Discomfort. But discomfort doesn't always mean danger. Sometimes it just means you're breaking a pattern that you're emotionally attached to. And that's where the real discipline come in at. Not in setting the boundary, but in keeping it when nobody is clapping for you. Nobody checking in. When them emotions hit and you still choose not to go back to what you already outgrew, guess what, sweetie? Over time, something starts to shift. You gotta stop needing people to understand your boundary for it to matter. Stop reopening them conversations that already showed you the outcome, and stop confusing emotional intensity with emotional safety. Start realizing something simple but powerful. The moment you do that, it's gonna click. Peace don't come from saying the right boundary at the right time. It comes from honoring it when it costs you comfort, attention, and even temporary relief. That's the part nobody warns you about. But that's also the part that changes you. Because once you learn how to sit in that discomfort and not fold, you stop abandoning yourself just to avoid feeling temporary loss. And that's when your life starts to feel different. Not instantly, but consistently, okay? And that's where I'm going to leave it at today. Boundaries are not just something you talk about. They're something you live. And I definitely hope this helped you sit with that a little bit differently today. I'm Journey K, and this is Journey K. Said what she said. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Tap in with me every week because new episodes drop Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Journey K is signing off.